All right, Couch Coaches, we are back. This is another Couch Coach Live. We're here once again on the last Tuesday in the month of August. Wow,
Wow.
August. Our show
Wow.
next week will be on September the 1st. Crazy. September.
That's
The
crazy.
final show of the
Yeah.
month, which is this 2020 has gone by too entirely fast, which is in a good way.
Yeah, no
But
shit. you know.
correct. Correct. So man, how was your
Excuse me.
week? How was your week?
Um, it's been exciting. What I'm saying? Really, really, you know what I mean? Really getting into
Yeah.
these games and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
really sitting down and watching, trying to figure out how they really it's not, because it's not like a regular NBA playoffs. Like how are they really playing this game,
Yep.
you know, rotations and you know what I mean? And just seeing it's been kind of exciting to me.
Yeah, man. Another week. Just working, maintaining, and
Hmm.
just hoping. Daily a daily prayer for the NFL, college football, for that to start on
Well, I got
time
you.
and to start.
Right.
We
Right.
we almost had it at the finish line. The NFL. Kickoff is in 2 weeks. Actually, 2 weeks from
Hmm.
Tuesday. I mean, from Thursday.
Hmm.
And then college football will start. I think September the 12th. It was really supposed to start this week, but obviously with everything that's going on and now having a conference on the schedules, so it's just ratcheting it up, and it's like, all right, we that had no incidents. I know we didn't let the general pop like leave campus, like let them go on home, let them take their virtual classes.
Hmm.
Let us have some football. That's sometimes, hey, I mean, it's getting to a point where, hey, we are at the finish line. We see light at the end of the tunnel. Let's just not mess this up. Let us just have some football and just enjoy it as much as we can. Because it's getting a little
Hey,
crazy.
remember when all this started and I told you that a lot of people don't pay attention to like, you know, the entertainment wrestling? And I said
Mm-hmm.
they're going if they can keep going, they're going to figure out a way to get sports to move. Remember I said that?
Oh, yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
then truth be told, it hasn't stopped. And don't get me wrong, like one of them, their ratings are down, but the one
Yeah.
that's new and smaller, their ratings are up. You know what I mean? So they have to dummy. You just like living like in being in a bubble. They have to dummy down and think it can't be over the top. It's got to
Right.
be smaller. You know what I mean? But yeah, man, I hope so too. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? I hope
man.
so too.
We're definitely getting there, and definitely a huge shout out to our guy Steven of Breaking the
What's up,
Game.
Steven?
He's checking us out, and then also telling us about another classic bubble game going on, which we'll definitely allude to that
Okay.
momentarily. We're trying to do some scoreboard watching as the night progressed, because we might have another team going home tonight, which we'll kind of talk about the
Right.
teams that are so far gone fishing. So let's
Mm-hmm.
talk. We're gonna talk about a little NBA. Well, not a lot, but we're gonna talk a lot. It's gonna be a really NBA playoff heavy night tonight. So
Mm-hmm.
your boys look pretty well in the Black Mamba jerseys and the on
Pretty
Mamba
well.
Day. That's what I
Pretty
said. I said
well.
pretty well. I said pretty well.
Man, they
Yeah,
look
they
great,
they
bro.
they destroyed the mess out of, yeah. I knew when the
You
score was
know,
8-24. I was like, you know what, this you can just you just can't you're not gonna win tonight. Like, you're not.
right. It
And
just,
just yeah.
like I was watching, like, okay, I'm watching the game, and
Mm-hmm.
and the Trailblazers are fighting, and you could
Yep.
tell the more they fight, though, they're hurt, they're beat up. You know what I mean? Then I was watching Melo, and I seen flashes of something. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, wherever he go next season, if he stay there, please put some schemes in from him. You know what I mean? Not just this rundown shoot. Put some scheme. He still got it. He still got it. You know what I mean? He just got to believe that he still got it. You ain't see like in the third
Oh
quarter he
yeah.
was lighting up.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
Like,
Mellow.
you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Vintage Mellow. Like it just got to be within the system is what I'm thinking. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
But
And yeah,
somebody got to pick him up. Like it's a few teams right now that could use him. You know what I mean?
I actually wouldn't mind him staying with Portland. I think you
I
you
wouldn't mind him
run
staying
you
with
run
Portland
you
either.
run you run it back. you're gonna have a healthy, you obviously gonna have a healthy. You have Collins should be for the most part. I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. Collins might. I don't know. It just depends how the season
You got
starts.
surgery.
But
He's got
anyway,
to have
you got
surgery.
yeah, you gotta have surgery. And I keep on forgetting this isn't a
Mm-hmm.
regular. I keep on thinking we're like
Right.
play, going into next season. But then you got Trevor Reese coming back, and then Rodney
Mm-hmm.
Hood coming back from the Achilles injury. So I would try to see if I can run it back and bring Melo in his 18th season in the league, a class of
Mm-hmm.
2000 guy, you know,
Mm-hmm.
representing
Well,
for us old
he had about
guys.
a year off, didn't he? He had about a year or 2 years off.
Some shit like
He had about a year.
a little over, yeah, some like maybe like a
Yeah,
calendar
you
year,
know.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
sometimes you need that. You
Oh
know.
yeah, absolutely. But I think that team can definitely run it back, and I'm really glad that Portland was smart and gone and Dame not playing in Game 5. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
smart of Portland because at the end of the day, you have to keep this man protected because the series
Mm-hmm.
is over. The series is
Yeah,
over.
they took.
Like
Yeah.
at this
Mm-hmm.
point, they're gonna be packing their bags and saying, "Hey, what I'm gonna do once I leave this hangar." When I leave Orlando, what we're gonna do once I get to Portland? Is it
I,
1, 2, 1, 2, 3 Cancun, Cancun on 3? I mean, what we gonna do?
right. I think if this was, what's funny? I think if
Hmm.
this was the regular NBA playoff, it
Hmm.
would be a little different because they don't have no time. They play every other day.
Yeah.
Now, my guy was having a conversation with my dad, and he was like, "No, it's always been." I said, "Dad, they play 2 games, or they play, 2 times at home or away, and then they go to the other team, and they have time to fly, they have time to
Travel
rest,
day.
and then travel. You know what I mean? They don't
Travel
they
day.
don't
Yeah.
have no time. They have no time. They play, then they chilling. You know what I mean? If they are chilling, they probably still
Yep.
haven't walked through, and you know what I
Hmm.
mean. They probably have no time to truly rest.
And then this is different, especially when we're
This
thinking
is
about
different,
West Coast teams. Because
right?
when you sit down and think about it, so these teams play at 9 o'clock at night. By the
Right,
time the game is over, it's almost midnight. By the time they get to their rooms and settle down, it's about 12:30, 1 o'clock the next day. And then imagine you
right,
have to play the very next day.
right,
So this is a little bit different. Yeah, of course. I
right.
mean, it's great for us. It's great for the viewing public. But like you said, you look at that type of series, especially if you're playing a late game, and it's funny. The irony of it all is the you know even this is even a weird spot for them to be playing at 9 o'clock at night, even in the
Right.
Eastern Standard Time,
Right.
and
I
it kind
think
of
that.
because yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. Talk. I'm sorry. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and that's another thing too, where I think, and it don't, and it's funny. It finally dawned on me last week. I'm like, watched the game last night. I was like, it's like 11:45. Like these
Right.
guys will hit the locker room. It's gonna be midnight. By the time they probably get to their rooms, it's one
Right.
o'clock Tuesday morning, and then they gotta play
Right.
again tomorrow.
I was trying
You
to
know,
explain that. That's why I think it's weird. I said it's almost like a pitching in baseball where your
hmm.
rotations has got to be really, really
Yeah.
smart. And you know what I mean? Your rotations got to
Hmm.
be smart because I wrote down all the minutes of the players. And if you look the players that are the most dominant, like the Raptors, you know what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
they playing basically like an all around game. Kyle
Okay.
Lowry got hurt. They wasn't running anymore. They was passing the ball on the inside and hitting them in the paint. Same with the Mavericks. You know what I'm saying? The Mavericks is killing on the Clippers in the paint. That's because every time, what's my man? I don't want to mess his name up. You know how I get. Tall dude, Frankenstein. You know what I'm saying? Like every
Oh,
time
Boban.
Boban, every time Boban get in the game, it
Hmm.
changes. It
Oh yeah.
changes. It's the pick and roll. He's killing Harold. He's killing Harold. Harold don't know what to do with him. And then they take Zoo out. They every time he get in the game, they take Zoo out. They put Harold in the game, right? Harold played 17 minutes and got what like 7 points. Yeah, he got. Matter of fact, he got 2 points. He played 17 minutes.
But
He got 1 rebound, 1 assist, and he got
yeah,
two
Yeah,
points.
Boban is a problem, and I like he's a 2K guy that I would definitely
Right,
feed him in a post.
right, right.
I do that all the time. Like when it's all day with him.
But when
But
you watch the game, and you watching how because I seen it in the first game. You know what I mean? And it's like they and the same with Steve Adams. They're limiting their minutes because when the Thunder is a small, I mean the Rockets is a small team. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
was like, he only played 26 minutes, and I was watching him, and I was like, they're not really using him. He's getting offensive rebounds.
Yeah.
It's a whole complete different game when you were playing in this bubble. You know what I mean? You
Oh
can
yeah,
only, I'm telling
absolutely.
you, these people can keep, going down, making these threes and think they're going to constantly keep getting 60 points. They're going to get tired and exhausted.
Yeah, man. And that's the thing too, where and now we're talking about the Clippers in the Maverick series, where it's tied and get ready to have a game 5, and this is a very interesting game, and
Yeah.
much to my chagrin, and it's funny. Luca has just been dominant, like as the honorary, unofficial captain of the Luca Doncic fan club. I can
Yeah,
sit
beast.
down and honestly, yeah. And what's funny because, and I think I talked about this at nauseum, but I always just say, and it's funny because we talked about the Dame Lillard and Luca comparison last week, and I was saying, well, we can't put him in that type of boat because of the
Yes, you have
clutch
to.
of yeah, well, yeah. But this is
Yeah.
last week. This before
Yeah,
he
yeah,
hit
yeah.
that game shot
The
in game
shot. Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Right.
and it play off a bum ankle. And
Mm-hmm.
it's funny because shout out to our guys at of the Ball Network. So we did a
Mm-hmm.
fantasy basketball draft for all time draft. So we had to pick a starter and a six
Mm-hmm.
man. So I
Mm-hmm.
had a great team. So my six man was Luka Doncic, and everybody looked at me like, "What are you like? Are you crazy?" And I looked at just the upside of him being 21, and then now you're looking at what he's doing now, where he's just like he's becoming a legend even at the age of 21. And it's
Right.
one of the things where it's like, and I understand we have seen guys like that in the sense where
No, he'll
you
be
yeah I'm not saying, and
he's a
like
beast.
I was even saying last week, like if I really want to compare him to somebody per se, I would compare him like 21-year-old LeBron, like as far as how he was
Mm-hmm.
doing at 21. And I understand, like
Mm-hmm.
Shaq, and I know Shaq and those guys. Shaq said like he's seen this before. Like yeah, we've seen it before, but at this level, I mean, it's just one of the things where it's like it's still a good thing to see. And like we haven't seen that in 15 years. Cause what LeBron is what 30? It would be
I,
36. But
right. I, I would compare him to Penny. Like Penny may be a little more athletic, but you know what I'm saying? I would
yeah.
compare him to Penny. Shoot, rebound, assist. You know what I'm saying? Like I'll compare him to
Okay. I
yeah,
mean,
he said
but
you know what I
yeah,
mean?
because
I would compare him to Penny Hardaway.
yeah. Yeah,
I
and
really
Steven,
would.
yeah,
You know
and
what I
Steve
mean?
was the first. Yeah, and Steve was the first one that was like, okay, I could see him picking Luca, and everybody laughed at me, and like
Right.
Steve was the one that had my back from the jump from that. He
Mm-hmm.
said right, and also he was saying like T Mac
It's
as
T
well.
Mac,
And
yeah. I
he's
think
another
yeah.
one where at 21 we were like he was really
Right.
explosive, but that's a
Right.
interesting. And what's funny now in the West, the Oklahoma City
Mm-hmm.
Thunder one like, and it's funny because if and even initially in that series, I was like, this is gonna be a classic matchup. But I think when we came on air last week, they were down 0-2. Well, they were on the verge of
Mm-hmm.
being down 0-2, and now they're tied.
Mm-hmm.
This series is tied, and those last two games have been like classics. And it's just, and I'm just in this one of the things where I was like, this is the perfect matchup for like an Oklahoma City team, and then also for Houston, where it's
Mm-hmm.
almost like the same type of style. And like we were talking about last week, that that three guard lineup with Schroeder, Chris Paul, and Gilgis Alexander. I don't know why. I sound like Charles Barkley when I say his name because I miss his words like so terribly. I made sure
Mm-hmm.
Gilgis Alexander. I don't know why I call it Gilgris, but it's Gilius
Mm-hmm.
Alexander. So those, they come to, and Schroeder's been killing it. And ever since he's been back, from, since his return from the bubble, I mean, he's played big dividends. And then there's another guy, we talked about LeBron doing his thing, Melo doing his thing. Chris Paul, even at 35 years old, he's still doing his thing. And that's another thing where this is just it's that's one thing I'm really like I'm loving about these playoffs where you see the youth in the league. You see guys like, especially in this matchup that's going on currently now with with Donovan Mitchell and Jamal Murray did the other night, scoring 50 points each. In that matchup. So you see the youth of that. You see Luka doing his thing, and then now you're seeing who I would call like our vanguards of the game, the Chris Pauls, the LeBron James,
Mm-hmm.
doing their thing, and so it's I just love how what a league is at this current moment where you got young stars
Mm-hmm.
stepping up, and then you even got the guys. You got the president of the players union balling.
Right. And
Even though I'm not a Chris Paul guy, but
right, a lot of us
everybody,
aren't.
it's
But
documented.
but if you, I looked at the stats, man, and
Yeah.
you know, I'm looking at I put down the minutes and the stats. D House, 39
Mm-hmm.
minutes, 6 reads, 1 assist,
Mm-hmm.
21 points. Harden, 43 minutes, 8 assists. 8 rebounds, 15 assists, 32 points. Austin Rivers, 15 minutes, 2 rebounds.
Trash. Let me stop.
Right. I
Oh,
mean,
let me stop.
let's just be
Let me. St-
honest.
I
No, no,
know.
no,
Let me.
no, no,
No.
no.
Let me stop killing. I don't. Yeah. I'm not a. Me and Glenn
But
Boy are not. He's not the guy I would send a Christmas card to.
right. But when you sit there and when you and that's funny because you love Christmas. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, right. You
but
would be the last person I would give
right.
a Christmas card to.
And I
Oh,
could understand what was it was what
oh,
114 versus
Austin.
117, right? And he only got two
Yeah,
rebounds and he's a scorer. Westbrook ain't there. So, you know
right.
what I mean? These
And
everybody playing
and
that's the meaning of stepping up. You got to
and
step
you
up.
and you know what I love about Russell Westbrook?
What?
His head is in the game. I love his intensity.
Right.
Like it's to a point where I don't even care about the game. I want to see what Russell
But Russ
Westbrook
gonna
doing on
do.
the sideline. Like I want to see him reading
Yeah.
that stat line with aggression. I liked how he was chopping at Steven Adams the other night. I was like, this is what you. This is what I love about Russell Westbrook. It's intensity. Man, you gotta love a guy like that. He
Hmm.
goes hard everywhere, like in every facet of the game. Even when he's not on the court, he.
Um, I'm with you, but I think
Mm-hmm,
it's a distraction. I think that
mm-hmm.
it's like some Pat Beverly stuff where, you know what I mean. You really, I mean, it's the truth. You're really doing that because you know some. You could tell on Doc's face, man. He know something ain't right. You know what I mean? He literally. That's why even how he's talking, he's like, these guys just got to play through it. They just got to figure it out. Blah blah. Blah. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And like I know, and I'm with you. That's entertaining
Mm-hmm.
that you're trying to get on Adams, but you seeing it's starting to turn. You know what I mean? Because it
Yeah.
is small ball. How far you really think it was gonna go? They what is a? I'm looking at the rotations. Like really,
Mm-hmm.
from what I see is you want to if you can hit a team hard and hurry up, get up there, get up 20, 25 or 30. You can sit people down and you can play other
Yeah.
players that might not be in I'm saying put them in a rotation. They can get some minutes and you can if they
Yeah.
come back, then you can get back out there. Now you don't rest it up.
But yeah.
I'm
But
telling you, man. Like
yeah.
you feel me?
Yeah.
It's like
But mhm.
it's like I see that. That's cool, but I'm like, man, like you know, it's. I think you might need to figure out another way to get your team motivated.
But I think more so Pat is more of a like an agitator. So Pat is just
Mm-hmm.
he's a little bit different than Russ. I think Russ even that little situation with Steven Adams was a little bit crazy, but just overall like as far as what he's the intensity that he brings. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't think I don't think he's per se a distraction more. So if I would compare the two, who would be more of a distraction? I would look at Pat Beverly. Look at like situation what happened with Portland, where they taunted him for missing two free throws, and I'm just like, and then y'all talk about he gonna be going home in the first round, and and I'm like, even though it's the truth, but y'all might be going too. y'all 2 bad games away from from not having your long-standing friend or family member come to see you. You know.
Right. I mean, I feel you, but I feel you, but
Yeah.
like I said, that's the beautiful thing about the NBA playoffs. You start seeing stuff start happening, start seeing
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And wow. And now the real storylines we talked about in the West, the East is pretty much sold up. You got one
Yeah.
game which is you know Magic gonna finish out, not Magic, but the Bucks gonna finish out the Magic tomorrow, more than
Yeah.
likely. And
Made me look bad.
and the thing about, and that's the thing too, where that one game, it's something weird about Orlando
Yeah.
in that first game. I swear, if
Mm-hmm.
they're in the same predicament next year, I will bet the house on them for game one.
Mm-hmm.
I will go for broke next year in 2021.
Mm-hmm.
If Orlando is in that same predicament where they're like a 6th, 7th, 8th seed and they're playing that game one, I will put everything, including the kitchen sink, on the Magic win game one. Like they've done this 2 years in a row. And then after that,
Mm-hmm.
it's just like, then, Toronto went crazy, in that first round. And then also Toronto, then now with Milwaukee doing their thing. And Chris Middleton, we found seeing what the Bleacher Report deemed as the number 8 top player in the NBA. Stepped up. I think he
Mm-hmm.
had like 18 points in the fourth quarter in yesterday's game. So we
Mm-hmm.
finally have a Chris Middleton sighting, So
Right.
we'll see what
I
that.
mean, let me see what he have.
I think he had. Did he have
Yeah, he did. You're
21?
right. You're
He had
right.
21 and 18
He
in
had
the
21.
eight. He had 21 then 18 in the fourth
Mm-hmm.
quarter, which that's another thing. And
Mm-hmm.
now they have a date with who we think would be a date with the Miami Heat, which that's gonna be a problem. And
It's gonna be a
Miami,
problem.
yeah, Miami took care of business. And to me,
Mm-hmm.
I think we talked about this at nauseum. I just love this Miami Heat team, and this is something I've grandstanded. I think Jimmy Butler fits this team so perfectly. Like this is like a
Mm-hmm.
great match. I mean, he is a kind of a intensity guy. He's like a kind of like a he would be like a Pat Riley
Right.
kind of guy, in my personal opinion. So, coupled
Right.
with that, and then the
Right.
personnel, where you got like, and I've talked about this at nauseum, where this ain't like Philly. This ain't like Minnesota. You don't have like these great players, but they're soft mentally. You got
Mm-hmm.
guys like Tyler Hero, Duncan Robinson, and like Bam, like and Kendrick Nunn. These dudes came out the mud. Like I mean, they're good. They're like like Karl Anthony Towns #1 overall pick.
Mm-hmm.
They're not Andrew Wiggins, who had a phenomenal season at Kansas that led him to be the #1 pick. You don't have like a Joel
Mm-hmm.
Embiid. Another case like when he was at Kansas, then and Ben Simmons, people were saying he was the best freshman. Like these guys, they came out the dirt compared to those guys, and they're willing to fight. And I love that situation when him and Chris when Chris Paul the dirt when he threw the ball at Duncan Robinson, and Jimmy kept back. He was like, "Look, I'm not here to not here to make friends." He was like, "No, you hit my guy, so I'm going for you." So I was like, "Man, see that's the
Right.
type of stuff where people will bust their ass for you. They will run through a wall for you. When you stand up and fight up for
Mm-hmm.
somebody, and you stand up for somebody, they're gonna
Mm-hmm.
run through a wall for him, and
Especially if you
it's
know
gonna
they
be a
working.
problem. Absolutely.
Yes, because Jimmy Butler, especially today, his name's been popping out a lot. We'll talk about it most likely later.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But he was saying how, he just want people to work just as hard as him.
Right. And he got
He
that.
wants you
And
to work
he
just as hard as
right.
him. And
Yep.
yeah, he got that.
He
Yeah.
and he got that.
Yeah.
He got
And
all those guys gonna work. He don't have no
right.
prima
And
donnas. He
I,
ain't got none of that.
mm. And then even if they were, at least as long as it's within the whole setup. You know what I mean? Like as long as
Oh
it's
yeah.
within the system or the
Oh
team. But
yeah.
yeah, they look good, man. Like when I looked at the stats, it was like Bam was basically everybody was around the same amount of minutes all around game, but Bam, 19 rebounds. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? like
Yep. And those
like
guys, yeah, man. And those guys gonna play because they know, like, hey, we just like him. We were great college players. People kind of
Mm-hmm.
overlooked us. Even though Bam was a lottery pick, but I mean, Bam was just one of those guys that's like, hey, he's just a Kentucky guy. He's not. You look at he wasn't like
Mm-hmm.
heralded like like DeMarcus Cousins, Michael Kidd Gilchrist, Anthony Davis in that kind of mode. He was just a guy that hey, he gonna be a solid guy with potential. All those guys are. So now it's
Mm-hmm.
like Jimmy. That's a perfect fit for him, and like he can be that. He can be the big brother. He can be the enforcer. He can be the guy they need. But
Mm-hmm.
then and then we're gonna have then we got Boston and Toronto in the second round starting on Thursday, and
Right.
that's gonna be that's gonna
My
be
hey, let me.
crazy.
It's gonna be crazy. My question is,
Yeah.
about the Nets. I really like the Nets. I
Mm-hmm.
really, really like the Nets. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're gonna get Kyrie. They're gonna have Jordan's gonna be there too, right?
Yeah, DeAndre Jordan. Yep.
And Dinwiddie will be there. Jordan, Kyrie, and KD. How you think that's gonna play out? You think it's gonna play out well? Because they even
The
when I was watching the games, they look good, man.
Right, and the thing is, it's going to be the coaching. That's going to be my biggest thing. Who's going to coach this team? That's going to be the thing where I think they're going
Right.
to be good, but who going to coach this team? Are we going to like my boy Steven, who got a great article on the Off the Ball Network talking about a coaching carousel. Who's going to be it? Could it be a situation where Greg Popovich can go to Brooklyn? And coupled with that, I'm like, that would be such a great matchup. I mean, not matchup,
Yeah,
but
but
that would be a great thing to have. Where you're like, if Pop goes there, I'm like, this is really intriguing because like he'll get the best out of like you said, like the Karis LeVerts, the Spencer Dinwiddie's, the Joe Harris. I think Joe Harris is a guy that I think who would
all
definitely
of them,
benefit from
bro.
that type of coach. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Except for those two that we not really
Oh yeah, yeah.
KD
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
and
yeah, yeah,
Kyrie.
yeah,
You
yeah,
think
yeah,
KD
yeah,
want to
yeah.
play for Pop? You think he want to play for Pop?
I don't know. That's the thing.
Right.
Part of me, I don't know. With him, he's a lot of stuff I didn't think he would do. Like I didn't think he would go to Brooklyn, honestly. But that's a part of
New
me,
York
Kevin.
needed though.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
Hmm.
when I sat down and really thought about it, what could he have possibly could have won? And a lot of it, like, and honestly, didn't think he was gonna go to Golden State. But at the end of the day, after I heard what Jerry West said about him going there, it made perfect sense of why he would go to Golden State because he can be more efficient. He can score more and be less efficient. Not one more, so
Hmm.
he'll be more efficient as far as he'll get more shots but with less work. He can be productive,
Right.
more productive with less
They're
work.
not going to double team him with that team.
Right.
They're not double
And
teaming him.
and that's the
Hmm.
thing. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and that's what like Jared West was saying. Where so at first
Hmm.
I was like, well, why would he go to Golden State? You know, and that's another thing too. Where I looked at that, and then the thing is, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't even really know what KD really wants at this point because I don't know if he's in the point if he's at the point where he just want to like if he wants to win a championship or not because he's already been there. And then you look at Kevin Durant when he won championship, he looked miserable. Like so, I don't know really. It depends. I would assume, but the thing is, if you do get a guy like a Pop, I mean, it's only they. You got to really think about it. With him and Kyrie there. It's only a handful of guys who I think they will be willing to have. When you think about it, I mean, I think of Ty Lue. Pop is kind of one of the guys that's out the blue, but it makes total sense if he
I,
does leave in San Antonio. That would be the only place I could see him doing that.
I think I believe Ty Lue going to the Pelicans. I think that's where he going to end up going. It just
I
makes more sense.
I think he's going somewhere else, which I think we're gonna talk about a vacancy that just opened up. Maybe the last
I know you're
about
talking about. I don't think so.
24 hours ago. Part of me, I don't know, and that's the thing.
I
Like
think they're
like
gonna
you're
get your
saying,
boy, the
ooh,
boy that you wanted to go to Chicago.
no, But a part of me, I don't. The thing is, at this point, I don't know what KD wants because like I was saying
Yeah.
earlier, where he's won two championships. So it's just like I don't know if he still wants to win a championship. Is he trying to chase Kareem, trying to be the all time leading scorer in NBA history? I don't know. I just know they didn't want Kenny Atkinson there
Right.
because, like we said on the March 10th episode of Couch Coach Live, like I always will admit, if they wanted Kenny Atkinson, they he would have stayed.
Mm.
If Sean Marks was like, hey, I want to get rid of Kenny Atkinson, Kevin Durant and KD could have went to Sean Marks' office and said, no, you're not. That's the reason why we came here. So I don't know what he
Can you okay? Hit
wants.
my memory. Hit my memory. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Did they? Don't they? It's the Nets. So haven't they always had coaching issues? Because wasn't Jason Kidd a coach there one time?
Yeah, Jason Kidd was
Am
there.
I tripping? All
But
right. Didn't they trade him to the Bucks?
yeah,
Am
they
I
got
tripping?
yeah. I mean they
Okay.
got yeah.
Wasn't what's oh my I'm just my
Avery
brain.
Johnson.
I
Avery
apologize.
Didn't
Yeah.
He was there. Avery Johnson was
Didn't they
there.
carry him too? Yeah. And then wasn't it on some weird stuff they got rid of him too? Because wasn't
I
he
think he
like
just got
the coach of the month?
well. I don't know about. I know he was a coach of the year in Dallas.
I think he was the,
He
but I
was
think
coaching.
this was
Yeah,
the it was he was coach of the month or something
because
like that, and it was a
because I
shocking that they fired him. Because
because
then
I
they
know.
hired Jason Kidd after him.
Yeah, they hired Jason Kidd, but
I'm just saying it's
yeah,
weird because like even when Kenny Atkins left, like did KD ever say I didn't want him here, or did
no,
we
no.
automatically think?
I'm
No,
gonna put it this way.
I'm just saying.
There was no innuendo saying this
Hmm.
and the third. But the thing is, you come to Brooklyn. Remember, they just got here last summer.
Hmm.
Kenny Atkinson was the head coach.
Hmm.
They let him go in March, so that's you looking at maybe within like a 9 month window, he's gone. I guarantee you, if they really wanted him there,
If he wanted him, he would have stayed. I got
they would have stayed. Yeah, because
you.
I
Yeah.
would have been like, if the main reason for me to go to Brooklyn was because of Kenny Atkinson, I'm like, no, you're not leaving me. You're not leaving
Right.
me.
I got you.
Pause. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like,
But
you're not. Yeah,
but
yeah.
I'm saying it. And we're gonna talk about later based upon some coach. But at the
Oh,
same
okay.
time, at the same time, when you think about it, something's going on with that organization anyway because they always had some type of issue with coaches. It's like
Yeah.
a coach either getting fired or quitting at a weird time, and we don't have no type. We putting it together like, well, if they wanted him to stay, he would have stayed, but we really
Right.
don't even know. It just still was weird, but
Yeah.
speculation. You know how we do. You know
But
what
I
I
think
mean?
so. I mean, I think so because to me, that's just like anything. I think if he was the sole reason for you to go there, you you would have known at least to say, hey, he's gonna be there for the long haul. This is how can I say? Like say for instance, if matter of fact Doc Rivers, if I go to the Clippers, I'm going for Doc Rivers. And if Doc Rivers decided to leave, say for instance I was Kawhi and PG, and like, look, I came here for Doc. Like you're not.
Yeah,
He
I got
can't
you.
leave. But that's my thing. So, and we talked, and then the Pacers was eliminated. So that was another. We had three
Mm-hmm.
teams are now going, and Denver. Denver did hold on to win tonight, so they're not going home yet. But that was
Right.
another classic game, and they
Right.
hold
I
on. So
seen
we
that.
got a game on Thursday. So that really sucks for Utah because if they don't get the rest, the 2 day rest that they would need. That's another thing too, where that's gonna be kind of, they I would
Telling you.
they would hope That's one thing
Right.
too where this would have been a great opportunity for them to close out because we don't know how this Dallas Clippers thing could happen because one of these two teams can win the next two games and you're playing on Saturday versus potentially playing on you know the next week. Because if Game Seven
Yeah.
would be because Game Seven would be essentially because Game Seven would be Monday. If
Mm-hmm.
if the Clippers and the Mavericks, I'm not Mavericks. Yeah, the Clippers and the Mavericks take it to the limit. That'd be on Monday. So you wouldn't play again to Wednesday. So now you're
Yeah.
really hoping for Utah. Let them have a game seven so we can get a little rest. But Denver once
Right.
again, and that's another thing too, where even down 3-2, this series ain't over. Series is far from over.
So you got to hurry
You
and
know,
you got to handle your business, man, because
right?
you got to
And,
get that
and
rest
now,
in.
hey, what's funny, and now you look at because we used to kill Denver last year because of the playoff experience. They lack playoff experience. Now their backs against the wall. They've kind of been somewhat in this type of predicament. So it's like this team could potentially come back and do its thing. So you know,
Hmm.
Denver, they're not
Yeah,
done.
like another, like I said, just like we was talking about Austin Rivers. Was
Yeah,
it Michael Porter,
Michael Porter Jr.
right?
Yeah,
Porter Jr. I seen his numbers and I'm looking at his stats and I'm like, he's got to step up. They need his. He's got to
yeah,
step up. He's very important to the team because I was looking at Murray. I'm looking at Murray. I'm looking at
yeah,
um I'm looking at Joker and I'm like, okay, who else? And then I'm looking at the minutes and I'm looking like, oh, he's supposed to be such a dominant scorer stepping up. They
yeah,
need him. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Yeah, because Millsap was 35 minutes last game and
Mm-hmm.
he got 16 points. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Gotta and they won
that's
by
solid.
yeah, you know what I'm saying. But I think you gotta like people
But yeah,
step up.
but Denver stepped up, and today, Jamal Murray, man, once another, balling, man. He's another guy that's
Yeah, he's balling,
the
B.
league. The league's in good hands, man. Like him,
Right.
and then imagine the trio with him, Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic, like three potential, well, three potential All Stars
Right.
in that
Next
lineup,
season gonna be
man.
crazy. Next season gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
Everybody
and
that's hurt,
now,
you know what I
right,
mean?
and then dealing with that experience. So man, so we talked about teams that are eliminated, and
Hmm.
we saved the last but not least. Um, now we got the Philadelphia 76ers, who also went home, and shout out to Matisse. Those blogs, I guess those vlogs will be ending soon, but definitely looking
Hmm.
forward to another edition of the my thesis Tybalt's vlogs in the bubble. I'm gonna miss that tremendously. So with them getting eliminated, well, really swept. The aftermath. Brett Brown was fired. The process is officially over. And yeah, this is going to be a very interesting
We knew that was
summer
gonna
for the.
happen.
Oh yeah, I mean it had to happen. I mean he already had what we would call many would consider the longest leash of any coaching tenure that we've experienced this decade, this century at this point, where he was able to get what 3 or 4 years of the process, winning 9 games, 13 games, this at the third, and really only had 3 good seasons, as far as that, and just not getting it done. I mean, especially this year, a first round exit and to get swept,
Right,
So
man. Well, no offense, it ain't all his fault. Like, Ben Simmons got hurt,
oh yeah,
and Joel Big B. I just think with him, uh, we all know something had to happen. I'm not a big Embiid fan.
mm-hmm.
I do think if you're in the right situation, you probably get the best out of him. But he does come off very lazy. He doesn't, come off he um doesn't really want to put the effort out. You know what I mean? Um, You know, I think what was the first, second game, like he really didn't get any touches or something like that. Do you think
Yeah.
that might have been something personal?
Well, I don't know. That's the thing where it's just like I don't. I mean, at this point, I don't. It's gotta be because I mean, at the end of the day, I'm
Right.
just put him in. Like to me, and that's the thing where all this and like you said, it ain't necessarily the coach's fault, but we all know it's from an NBA economic standpoint, it's a lot cheaper to
Mm-hmm.
replace a coach than to replace,
Right.
Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons and those guys. So
Mm-hmm.
somebody was going to
Something that
take the
happened.
lion's share of the blame. It's
Yeah,
just the
somebody.
economics of it all.
Right.
Where and
Do
that's the thing where mhm,
you think El Brand need to be fired?
not yet.
Good
The
answer.
thing is, and then what Embiid is, like the Embiid is unstoppable. If you put him in a post, like, and that's the thing where if you put him in a post, I mean, you can cancel Christmas. Like he does what he has to do. What kills them is they just don't have the pieces like they did. Like you lose a guy like a Jimmy Butler, who I would have been an enforcer. So when you got these situations, when you got these little mind games, and people are trying to get in your head, Jimmy gonna block all that. You got a veteran
Mm-hmm.
leader like a JJ Redick, and then you replace him. Then who's the highest paid player on this team? Tobias Harris, and then you got
Getting
Josh
paid.
Richardson getting paid. And that's the thing where and the thing is, I understand like Elton Brand, and I like Elton even though he's a Dookie, but he's gonna be fine. But the thing
Dookie.
is, well, Brand is it's funny, and it's funny. I love how like he said, well, we're not gonna get rid of Joel and Ben, but at the same token, you just haven't got a trade. Trust me, you're just as faithful as your options.
Right.
If he gets a deal that knocks him off his socks, because it's you think about it, you want to build around him, but how can you build around this guy and who you gonna trade Tobias Harris for who? Like, what you gonna get for Tobias Harris? What? Nothing. Not nothing worth writing home to. You'll get something, trust me, but you're not gonna get what you bargained for.
Right.
Like, what you gonna do? Get rid of Josh Richardson? What you gonna get for him?
Because Embiid and Simmons, they got to get paid this before next
So
season,
hold
right?
on. I don't even really know their contract situations, but yeah,
When I was
I mean
watching something
they're due for
today,
a payback
they
payoff.
said that in 1 year, like with Horford, because we didn't even say nothing
Yeah,
about
Yeah,
Horford,
offer, yeah, and right. So you got three guys who clogging that kind of money. What you gonna get for them?
and
What
then
you
you
gonna
talking
get for
about
Al
it's
Horford?
supposed to be four, and that's why I was thinking maybe he should have been fired because they haven't even really been using Horford, and even when Horford in there, like he just don't seem like himself.
But he doesn't fit their scheme. So and that was the really thing is he don't fit them. And that's the thing where it's like I like to give him that kind of money. Everybody was kind of like dumbfounded. Like why would you give him? Because Al Horford's what probably like 33, 34, and that's the thing where that's the issue. And like you said, Brandon be safe because Brandon be like you can say at least Brandon like okay if he gets the right coach and bring these guys in, then he's safe. I mean he's good for now. But if he gets the coaching hire wrong, he'll be the next guy out.
Well,
He'll
some
be
people
out.
said that he been there and he hasn't really had. They still, even though he's been there for a minute, they said
Yeah.
that he hasn't had the power that he wished that he had to build. Somebody's been kind of like in the way.
But now he does.
Now
So
he does. Yeah.
the thing is he just have to hit it out the park. If he can hit it out the park, he's good. But if it fizzles out and they're just as bad as they are this year, I hope Coach
It's
K
weird
got him.
because you know what's weird? What if Kawhi Leonard missed that shot? Like if
Yeah.
somebody did that question, would he have got fired? Because he had an excuse. Well, you know what I mean? It was Ben Simmons was hurt.
I
Okay,
mean, oh
okay,
yeah,
forget all
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Question: Do you like Simmons? Do you like Simmons better at the point or at the power forward or the small forward position?
I, that's the thing. What I like the thing what kills me with him is if he can like. I mean, I'm okay with him being a point guard. I like him being a point guard because I like how he spaces the floor. But the power forward thing, which I really ain't seen much of it because this really just happened, and during the bubble. So I do like him as a point guard. I do like him at that
Mm-hmm.
position. The power forward, like I
Mm-hmm.
don't know about that, but I do like
Me
him at
neither.
the point guard position. And he's 6'10". He great ball handler. He can pass. Like I mean,
And,
he's perfect for that.
and
And
they said he didn't like that position, the power forward position. He didn't like the.
yeah, because I mean, he's really not a. I mean, and that's the thing where like, cause I mean, it's weird. Like I mean, and the power forwards ain't like kind of like how it's a different age of power forwards. Now versus when we were coming up, you had to be this Karl Malone
Mm-hmm.
type of figure, and
Yeah. Yeah.
that type of But
Yeah.
the thing is that though, but I don't know what's next for them. I mean, as far as the head coach, I know Ty Lue's been linked to it. Pardon me. He's been linked to it, but Ty Lue has been linked to every job, every coach out opening except for
Yeah.
Chicago.
Jason Kidd.
Jason
Right.
Kidd, that's what they said. And also, and that's our guy Steven, who once again I talked about the article, and he wrote just he actually, which I think would be very interesting if this happens, if Jay Wright, the Villanova head coach, is the coach for the Sixers.
Mm.
It's like 7 years ago, this would be kind of like, huh? But now you look at the success of Brad Stevens at Boston, you're like, okay, well, and I'm really not surprised. A lot of GMs haven't taken this route, which is really
Mm-hmm.
weird because normally, I guess the NBA is a little bit more different than the NFL because I think the NFL is more of a copycat league more so than the NBA. But
But that's some of the problem too, because I've been saying that for the longest.
yeah,
Why are they hiring this coaches? You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, I mean, look at Nick Nurse, bro. Like, I mean, look at
mm-hmm.
um my man from the Miami Heat. Like, you know what I mean?
Spolstra, yeah,
Look at Brad Stevens. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like these guys that's young, that can understand these guys,
mm-hmm.
understand the guys who get paid. Man, truth be told though, like as long it's hard to explain. Like look, even my man for the Thunder, you know what I'm saying?
Bill Donovan,
Like
yeah,
they
that's
yeah,
another,
like
yeah, that's another one
it,
where look, and that's another thing we were like, why is OKC hiring Billy Donovan, and we knew Kevin Durant was on the verge of leaving, and that
hmm
and that's the thing about it where like if Steven would have said that in 2013, we look at him like, what the hell are
right.
you talking about? But
Yeah.
now it makes sense because every time we've doubted a college coach hire, we've always had egg on our face. So it's just like
Because we still
this has
have like look at the
legs.
Cavs coach. Look at the last Cavs coach. It's still some college guys
Well,
that didn't, you know what I mean?
Beeline's a little different because Beeline is no disrespect. I love Coach Beeline. Richard Spider head coach from 97 to 2002. Love the guy. He's a great coach. But he's in his 60s. He's in his late 60s. So, you know,
hmm
even though,
Yeah,
and that's another thing too
that's a
where
good one.
right.
Right.
Because these, when you look at, and even to put Jay Michigan, like him, Beeline, and Beeline's a great college head coach. Don't get me wrong. He's a great head coach, but he just couldn't connect with them. He couldn't connect with the Cleveland Thugs. So, and that's a thing where
A
it's
bunch of bears.
right. He couldn't connect with those thugs, as he would eloquently say. And
It's the Thuggish Brothers. That's great.
right. The Cleveland connection. And
Retired
that's the
rap,
thing.
and we're
Right.
tired of those thugs. You know what I mean?
And yeah,
Right.
yeah, and that's almost just like if you, and these are more like younger, kind of more accomplished than him. So it's kind of he could command the respect versus Beeline's a great coach. Like he led Michigan to a couple of Final Fours, Elite Eights, this, that, and the third. I think they went to the Final Four a couple of times during his tenure there. But Jay Wright has won a national championship. Billy Donovan has won two. Brad Stevens,
Mm-hmm.
even at this point, even though they were a missed shot away from winning that championship, but what he did at Butler was phenomenal. So it's a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
and I do see that happening, and that's the thing where slugs, but and that's the thing where when you really sit down and you think about it, you're like, well, it makes sense, especially in this day and age, and the way and the thing how it was going to interesting was going to how it all play out. First one to get Ty Lue. So
Mm-hmm.
essentially, we have to wait for the Clipper season to end for that to drop. Because essentially,
Mm-hmm.
he's the hottest coaching candidate, him and D'Antoni. So once the
Mm-hmm.
Clippers and them get eliminated, and once the Clippers and the Rockets get eliminated, then that's when you see the coaching carousel ratchet up a little bit, as they would say.
Mm-hmm.
So once that happened, so what's gonna happen in between? Where, like you said, because if Philly could they would it just be smart for them to be like, you know what? Do we want to sit and wait? Because now we don't even really know when the season's gonna start because things are now might get pushed back.
Mm-hmm.
Where there's now they're coming to their senses and well, yeah, I think December 1st is way too early to start the season. Yeah, I think
Mm-hmm.
so. Especially if the NBA Finals in October the 13th is Game 7, which will be on
Mm-hmm.
air that night on October 13th on a Tuesday night. Which shameless plug, but but that's another thing where you're like, okay, and all of it is such a fluid situation where it's like Philly, in essence, kind of would be smart to kind of but the party is a lot of it's really going to be once the Clippers get eliminated, and then also
Yeah, I
when the
got you.
Lakers get eliminated because Jason Kidd is in a lot of the talks too, where it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like whoever's going to get eliminated first is going to get the dibs, and so
Um,
but.
so how long was Brown there? Was he there for how long was he they coach?
Brett Brown was there since like I want to say about 2012, 20. Okay, I think probably like 2013, 2012 because I know they beat us the Bulls in 2012. That was a Derrick Rose situation. A moment of silence. But but anyway, the last time AFC lost to AFC beat a number one seed. I'll never forget that.
You want to talk about it? Well,
No,
this is what I'm saying.
but
This is what
anyway.
I was getting
Mm-hmm.
to. You seem silly, man. What I'm saying is they need to get somebody that can put that team together. Because I don't think they're going to get rid of Embiid. I don't think they're going to get rid of Simmons. I don't think they already done paid those other two. They're not going nowhere. So they
Second
got to get
years,
the
yeah.
right people around them. So you got to get somebody that they respect, that they listen to, that's a real smart basketball mind. It, like look at Monty Williams. You know what I mean? Like it's got to be like some kind of like a coach that that everybody kind of like and respect. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that can bring them together. Like you dealing with some dudes who actually getting paid that that you didn't think they would get the money that they got. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing where they have to get
You got to
together and
get the best
command
out
that
of that.
respect. And
Right.
that's
Not
where
no. It don't have to be somebody hard though. It don't have to be somebody hard. Like they always want to get somebody that loud and
well
it don't have to be that. You know what I mean?
well somebody that is respected. That
Mm-hmm.
that and I think that's why we look at the Ty Lue aspect. I think we look at Ty Lue everywhere because just the fact that he's won a championship.
Right.
Where when we're looking at most of these teams who have coaching vacancies, we're looking like the Brooklyns, this Philly, where these are Pelicans. These are playoff caliber teams, and even with the right coaching, they could be contenders. In the
Hmm.
conference. So that's why Ty Lue really essentially comes up just because of the championship pedigree.
Right.
And then I think and even just it's even point where the Jay Wright thing could really work because I think he's well respected in just basketball circles, period. Not just
Right.
not just in the college game. And just imagine him,
Right.
you know, pretty much coaching his team in his backyard, where he really doesn't have to leave the confines of
Hmm.
Philadelphia. And you're like, that's really intriguing. Where I can see them getting and that's the thing with him, where he's really got the best out of his talent. Like, and I mean, even though Villanova, they got talented guys. Like you look at DiVincenzo, like this dude was the
Hmm.
MVP, MOP. Where'd he come from? We sitting in
Right.
we sitting in a bar in Texarkana, Arkansas, and we're seeing this guy
Right.
Dante DiVincenzo just light up
Hmm.
the joint against Michigan in the national championship. That vaults him now. He's
Right.
in Milwaukee, and so you
Hmm.
look at that, you're like, and it's just all of it. Where you're looking at him and you're like, okay, well, Jay Wright would make sense. Jay Wright,
Right. I'm not
in
knocking that.
essence, right?
I'm not knocking
I'm
that.
not knocking either, and that's the
Mm.
thing that says the beauty of it now in 2020. You seen the success of college coaches in this league, and you're
Mm.
like, well, it's an open thought. But yeah, a lot of it's really
I
gonna
just
be
think that if you gonna
mhm,
keep, if you go ahead, I'm sorry.
yeah. But yeah,
Go ahead. Mm.
all it's really gonna be contingent on who gets eliminated first.
Right.
Where who who it's gonna be like the musical chairs of coaching. Where
Right.
because you look at for now we just had of course we have how many three coaching vacancies we got New Orleans, Chicago, Philly. Sacramento is not there yet, but more than likely Sacramento will be one.
They're gonna
So
then. Hmm.
we got three official. And probably by the time next week roll around, we'll probably have four or maybe five. But tonight, we just got three. So you only got really two. You got two teams that are bona fide playoff teams, and then you got a fringe one in Chicago. So
Hmm.
it's one of the things where it's just like, and then it's just a matter who's gonna get their coaching hire first.
Right.
And even another one that kind of came up too,
Oh.
Maurice Cheeks and OKC, which that's Charles Barkley. That's that's him. That's him saying,
I'm
"Hey,
not
come
a.
on
I
home."
like Maurice Cheeks, but I think he old, and I'm not a big fan of him. I'd rather see Sam Cassell. Like my whole thing is, you
That's
got
another
Ben
thing.
Simmons
Yeah.
there, right? You
Mhm.
got Ben Simmons there, and you want to be a point guard. Matter of fact, if you could just figure out a way to that you can get 12, 15 points, and maybe have him post
Yeah.
up a smaller guard or blah blah blah, that's really it's really the main thing. I just think I'm tired of them old. I'm tired, not old coaches, but
Mhm.
the same coaches where I know, just like you said in the NFL, they're giving some of these young coaches a chance. And some of them, maybe one year they had a lot of success. The next year they might not have the same success, but they're
Mhm.
coming. You know what I mean? They have
Yeah.
they didn't get a chance to play, but they have great football minds. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And I just seen, like, I was like, oh wow, Sam Cassell. Like, it's just a lot of coaches out there, man. Just, I think anybody get a shot. Just take a chance. You know what I mean? Just take a
Yeah.
chance.
Yeah. And that's the thing where who's to say? And Philly might strike it rich and get a great coach, and it could have a potential Nick Nurse, well, who actually won the
Right.
Coach of the Year. Definitely huge shout out to Nick
Hmm.
Nurse. Man, that was I'm telling you. I'm a
Yeah.
stickler for like emotional moments,
Yeah, me
and
too.
I loved when they presented him that award, and then this high school coach, you
Right.
know, um,
Right.
he did a video tribute to it. And I'm like, I like the type of stuff. And then Cal Lowry and Van Vliet
Right.
handing him the trophy. I was like, that's the type of stuff I like.
Right.
And like you, and he's another
Right.
guy where Nick Nurse, organically, too. Where and that's another thing too where we get caught up in these couch coach moments. Like, how do you fire Dwayne Casey? And then you fire
Right.
some Nick Nurse, and then it's like
Right.
you see why. And that's the thing where you look at like general managers like guys like Masari Ujiri, where it's like this is what GMs have to face every day. They make these tough decisions, and they see visions that we don't see. But he knew in his heart of hearts, in order for this team, and it won't just LeBron. Everybody was like, oh, no, he was if it was a pie, 50%, probably 50-50-25, 50-50-45-55 was LeBron. But really was kind of in essence was coaching. Because you look at what Nick
Yeah.
Nurse is doing, he's got the best out of everybody. And
Mm-hmm.
that's the thing, man. It's just it's amazing. Like, and I was a stickler for that, and I just loved it. It was just so cool, like to see, his old high
I
school
remember.
coach.
Yeah, yeah, it was great, B. It was great. Like
Yeah.
I remember seeing when Mike Tomlin talked about him getting interviewed for the
Mm-hmm.
Steeler job when they actually thought it was going to be um the Vinatieri. No, what's not Vinatieri? It was the offensive coordinator. They thought it was going to be him, but they
Mm-hmm.
had to basically interview Mike, and Mike was their first one. And they
Yep.
said the interview ended up being like 3 hours, and then they wouldn't let him leave.
Yep.
And some of these guys, I just feel like have great basketball minds, and you want to talk to them. Like,
Yep.
you know, you know what I'm saying? Like, you guys do your podcast and we watch it. You guys have great
Mm-hmm.
memories about stats and players, and
Mm-hmm.
and they did this and they did that, and that's what makes it's exciting. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So Nick Nurse probably just had that love, that true love for basketball. You know what I
Right.
mean? And then from that you get assistant coaches that you know what I mean that respect you and you respect them. You get a nice little formula going, and then you get the players and get them to buy into what you're trying to do. And then they have to trust you. So to see Kyle Lowry and Van Fleet, hope I said his name right, Van Fleet, to give him the trophy. And I said, when I look at them two, I see Nick Nurse because I feel like Nick Nurse might not have had the um been as much as an athlete as them. I think he has. I could see him having the heart like them
Yep.
two have. Them two guys aren't just they scrappy. They play defense. They put their body on the line. They small guards. Even for
Mm-hmm.
guard stance, they small. You know what I mean? And they still can get you an easy 20, 30 points a game. You know what I'm saying? Assists and rebounds. They all
Yep.
over the place. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And I just thought it was great, man. I thought it was great. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's something that even goes back to what Red Auerbach used to say, where because they asked him like, "Hey, why do you think like good players are bad coaches, and why essentially role players are great coaches?" And he was like, "Well, mainly because when you're a rotational kind of guy, you're patient. You see the game in a
Mm-hmm.
different way." And like when
Mm-hmm.
you're a good player, you think to yourself, and almost like, and you look at like with Jordan, because what
Right.
he sees something different. He sees like, well, why can't you do this
Right.
versus a Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle is a
Right.
perfect example.
Right.
Even though he said some harsh things about the Bulls coaching job and how no coach should take that job, but I digress. I just using that as an example. But I just didn't like
Yeah, I
what he
got you.
said. But like him, he was a role player with Boston. So obviously he looked at the game from a different perspective. And he's like more patient. And that's I think in essence why he's such a great coach. You know, despite his
Mm-hmm.
comments. But
It's weird. It's so
yeah.
funny you would say that because Danny Ainge, being a GM,
Mm-hmm.
he said the same thing because he was like, they won a championship in the '80s, and he said that Larry Bird and the big three, McHale and Parrish, was old, but rather than trading them,
Mm-hmm.
so they can keep winning, they had them sign retirement contracts.
Yeah.
So from that championship to the big three, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Boston was horrible. You know what I mean?
Right.
So now when you see him now, he's probably one of the best GMs. You know what I mean? To
Mm-hmm.
be honest with you, in the league, he's probably most likely one of the best GMs because they've been relevant ever since. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, but basically, you know what I'm saying? Like I remember, I just remember in the championship, right? People were saying, "Oh, they're playing a box one. They're doing a box one." They were laughing. They was like, "This is
Yep.
disrespectful." And I'm like, I've been saying it for the longest. I'm like, "Yo, he got them playing a defense and it's working." You know
Right.
what I mean? He's figuring out something like what. So we're no, we would never play a box one. We would never play this zone. You know what I mean? What is you talking about? Are you trying to win or not?
Right. Because they were down 0-2. And it's like, what thought was gonna happen? You thought they were just gonna lay
Yeah,
down and just die? No, they came
yeah,
back.
no, man.
Like, no, they came back and they fought. And that's the
And that's
thing
what you
where
that's
it's
what
what
you're
you're supposed
supposed
to
to do.
do.
That's
I
what you're
mean,
supposed to do. You know.
right,
And
right.
defense and so here and that's what made to me too when he changed it up and did that it made the game more interesting because
Right.
the commentators started saying, oh, he's playing this, so you get to really just watching on what they doing, you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Kind of like when we were talking about your favorite quarterback in the world, what's his name? What's his Dallas Cowboy, what's his name?
Oh,
Tony
Tony
Romo.
Romo.
Tony
Yeah.
Romo, right? And
Mm-hmm.
when the first year he was there and how he was breaking stuff down to us, and we was like, man, this is so
Yeah.
interesting to watch because he's telling you exactly what's going on when they
Mm-hmm.
need to hike
Yep.
the ball. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
man,
Mm-hmm.
congratulations to him. I love it. That's the
Yeah.
stuff that
Oh
we
yeah.
love about sports. It
Yeah.
ain't always the one player making 85 points. You
Yeah.
know,
Right. Yep. And it should just gives hope to everyone else as far as that's grinding in the G League, doing that thing. Hey,
hmm
you can be just like Nick Nurse.
it's weird when I see him. It makes me think of Phil in the beginning because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't want Phil to be there. You know what I mean? And then eventually they, look what Phil at, and like people still be talking about the greatest coaches, but I hate to tell everybody, greatest
Mm-hmm.
coach of all time is Phil Jackson.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? It ain't that guy that plays football. You know what I'm saying? It's Phil Jackson.
Mm-mm.
You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Nobody here can be able to do what he did.
No.
But anyway,
And with two different eras.
right, and a
Like,
lot of different teams.
it's right, and
You know
a
what I
lot of
mean?
different personalities.
A lot of different, especially and see, when we was talking about the Last Dance. No, it's
Mm-hmm.
not. Stop. It's not. Pop. Stop. You've got to stop that. No.
you talking about
You
the
know.
coach of the Brooklyn Nets?
Oh, I'm about to say because he said that it's pop.
No,
No,
no, no. Yeah, I mean,
no, I'm just joking. But
yeah,
I
and
think you got to see the great of Phil Jackson when he went to L.A. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, 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 because it wasn't a
Yeah.
fluke. Because you know how because that's the thing with
Mm-mm.
people do when you're at one place and you're succeeding, and then it's like you're just there
Mm-hmm.
because you're because it's a fluke. He replicates the
Right.
same success somewhere else, and the Bulls were almost. And it's funny they were similar alike, where the Bulls were a great
Mm-hmm.
team. They were a perennial playoff team, under Doug Collins, which was a good team. And then like go back to here, where the Lakers were great. Dale Harris, they had a great team, 4 All-Stars. You had Shaq, Kobe, Nick Van Exel, Eddie Jones. This team was still making the playoffs, doing their thing. They still didn't have, and then they came together, even despite the issues with Kobe and Shaq. And you think about it, and you had them in different points of their lives, where you had a teenage Kobe Bryant, and then at that time the most dominant player in the league in Shaq. And to manage those egos, where versus, and he like, if you think about it, that's more almost just as impressive as Chicago run than situation. All right, Steven.
What'd
Look,
he say?
look, that's Dolan fault. That's Dolan fault. Let's ask Chris LeBron. That's Dolan
Oh,
fault.
ho,
Whatever
ho,
happened.
ho, ho.
What happened?
We saying coach. First of all, we saying coach. And we ain't say nothing about. And he, we
The
ain't saying. And
president.
I'm
The
let
president.
me be. I'm from Akron, Ohio. So like my dad used to say, nobody wants to play for any Cleveland team. They actually only go to Cleveland to get paid. That's
But
what that quote my father. But Phil Jackson did it with four different teams, man. That first Chicago team was different than that second Chicago team, man.
And
That
then
first Shaquille and Kobe team was completely different than that Kobe and Gasol
Pau
team.
Gasol,
That's
yeah, Lamar
called, you know what
Odom,
I'm saying?
yeah, and
Yeah,
Lamar
like
Odom
that's different, bro.
before
That's
the
different,
Kardashian
B.
curse.
Right. I could see Phil's face too. When he married Kardashian, I could see Phil. He put his
but
hands up
but
like,
but Phil can't talk because he was with Jeannie. So
hey, Phil, man.
oh, trust
Phil,
me, and that's a
Phil, little
hey,
hippie. Phil, little
ain't
hippie.
nothing wrong
You
with
know,
that. Ain't
he's
nothing
like,
wrong
Phil.
with.
So, are you coming back to Chicago? I think I'm gonna jump on my bike, ride across. Make my way to Montana. Like, yeah,
Right,
right. We
right,
know where you
right.
going.
Ain't nothing. Shout
Look,
out to Jeannie
so
Buss.
Phil, hey Phil. So Phil, are you gonna come back and coach the Lakers? Hold up, I got somebody paging me. Oh, it's Jenny. I'm
And
saying
that's
like, yeah,
another
he
thing
coming
too,
back. You know what I'm saying?
because you think about it. After all that happened, Rudy Tomjanovich, for the most part, did a fairly decent job after in that tenure that he was with the Lakers. But then
Mm-hmm.
once Phil came back the second go around in LA, that was still and like you said, and
Mm-hmm.
having a guy like a Pau Gasol, Lamar Odom, those guys, which that was another thing too, where you're like
Mm-hmm.
he did with those championship teams. And then even back to Steve's point, yeah, Pop, he did have 4 or 5 teams. And the good thing with him is, which what I find interesting about Pop's situation, I honestly think Phil would have had that same situation if Jared Krause didn't get rid of him. Because you think about it, San Antonio essentially had just about a 20-year run, essentially, where they were in contention and winning championship just about every other year at one point. I really think
I don't think.
if Phil had an opportunity to stay on in Chicago or stay on in LA, I think it would almost mirror that same success. What he did in San Antonio is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna lie. It is to have that type of consistency in the you think about from 1999 until when the last time they won a championship was 2014. That's a 15-year run
It was great.
where right, and that's
Yeah,
the
it was
thing
great.
where
I'm
and I
about to.
guarantee,
How many championships
yeah,
they get? They got
was it
five.
because they won in '99, they won in '03, '05, '07. Uh, they won in '07. Did they win 9? No, that was 9, 10, 11. And then they won in 14. So they won 5 championships.
They won
Yeah.
five. Okay.
I mean, yeah, you think about
With
it.
Tim Duncan. That's it.
Yeah.
That's the argument. He did it
Right.
with
And
Tim
that's the
Duncan,
thing. He
and
did
that's
it with just
it.
Tim Duncan, which
Yeah,
in
that's it.
essence, yeah, it wasn't, yeah, 15, yeah, in the 14-year period from 99 to
Right. Right.
2014, which,
Right.
yeah, and one year was a lockout year, which that's
Yeah.
another thing, too, when you look at the 99 season. And it was continued success where there was really no drop off, where, they
Right.
made the playoffs every year. And just the whole thing of, just him. And the thing with, even with Tim, they still going to have, they're gonna still have like fringe Hall of Famers like I think Manu's gonna be, the a Hall of Famer. But yeah, I definitely think he was. And that's the thing, and that's the thing. Going back to your point where he said Tim was a boss, but he's not in the GOAT conversation. It's really, I think, honestly, it's his game, and it's funny. And I don't know if we talked about this before, and how people would remember how when everybody was comparing Kobe's career versus Tim Duncan, and everybody was like, well, who career would you rather have? And I'm like, they're just about even. I mean,
Right.
per se, like as far as championships or what have you. Obviously, if you looking for it, if I'm the finish one out career, I was a third leading scorer in the league. You would obviously take Kobe in a landslide. But they both lasted just about. Tim Duncan, I think he was there with 18 years. Kobe lasted for 20. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
it too, and I think it's just more so of just San Antonio in itself and just his game. His game was just he was the big fundamental where he did things
Right.
fundamentally sound in a sports center 30-second microwave generation where we crave those, top 10 plays. Tim Duncan will just kill you just off hitting bank shots. The bank is open at 7:30 at night in San Antonio for 18 years. Well, he just hit shots
Mm-hmm.
off and hit glass and bank shots. So that's the
Right.
thing where honestly, it's just because of the generation and and I think we'll talk about this more often. It's really the generation that he lived in.
I
I think
mean,
if
he's a
he
top 10.
oh yeah, no doubt.
He's a
It's
top.
just
I mean,
yeah.
Tim Duncan's
Yeah.
in the top 10, man. You know what I'm saying? He's in at least a top 6. You know what I mean? I put him in
Which
top 6, top 7.
yeah, and that's the thing. And going back to Steve's point, he was born to the casual fan, but that's the thing where basketball savants understand. They understand.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But when you play from 1998 to 2016, we living in mixtape worlds where we chopping up people's highlight reels. It and you got a guy who just fundamentally sound just plays the game the right way and it should be. It's just he was just born in the wrong era. To be honest with you, if he was maybe about if he came around like in the 80s, per se, or even not even early 90s, but like if he was around in the 80s and in the early 90s, he would be. And that's where and I think even that
Mm-hmm.
going off track, and I think me and Steven we talked about this on one of the shows that we did on Off the Ball Network, where I think this is gonna be the same conversation with people with Chris Paul down the line, where people we'll say it 20 years from now we'll understand the value of Chris Paul, but there'll be guys that'll be
Mm-hmm.
probably our age 20 years from now who witnessed Chris Paul now compared to guys like Russell Westbrook, Derrick Rose of the world. He's gonna get lost in those conversations, and that's the thing where
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna be the problem. Where when you if you like people who are real like basketball novice savants, they'll get it, but the dribble, 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 dribble. And that's what's going. That's the thing where it's these guys are just in the wrong era. Like that's the thing where they're gonna be. That's gonna be the interesting thing when we sit down and really think about once all these guys' career ends in totality, how we all gonna put them all together in a list. And that's why I think it's so intriguing to bring up Tim Duncan. Now it's in the fact especially compared with a guy like a Kobe, where I think a lot of these conversations are going to happen each generation where we're comparing guys in the same era, but different styles that some aren't conducive to that particular era. I'll keep doing that. That's that Virginia. That's that enunciation thing. But
Right.
that's the thing where I think ultimately that's what's going to get lost. I think when you look at when you make these type of comparisons because they're two different styles of play compared
Mm-hmm.
to the ones that buck the trend. They're going to be the ones that's going to be what you call the outliers. And definitely, huge shout out to our guy. What's going on, Michael? What's going on? What's going on, man?
Oh, what's
Yes,
up,
sir.
man? Yeah, like and you're right, man. Like, cause Tim Duncan is, it's arguably you're right. A lot of people don't bring him up. You know what I mean?
They
A lot
don't.
of people don't bring him up. But you know who they bring up? The
Mm-hmm.
coach.
Right, right,
They
right.
they bring up Pop all the time. But then when
Mm-hmm.
you talk about Kobe, Shaq, when you talk about Kobe, Shaq, and Jordan, they really don't bring up Phil.
Right.
They really don't.
Mm-hmm.
They don't really bring up Phil. They always bring up them players. But those players know if it wasn't for Tex and it wasn't for Phil,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't have had those championships.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
and the thing, yeah, and that's what separates, I think, those two, where they all in their own right would have been great individual players. They would have
Right,
been the guys who would be like, oh yeah, Jordan was great, but he never won a ring. Kobe was
right,
great, never won a ring. Oh, Shaq was dominant, but he never won a ring. And that's
right.
where now they're in a different, and with they would be in the Charles Barkley, Patrick Ewing conversations if it
Allen
wasn't for those
Iverson.
guys,
It's
Allen
definitely
Iversons, where we look at these individual talents and we're like, damn, they never won a ring. Like, and just imagine putting them in that same conversation, where that's the thing too, where
hmm
that's where it gets interesting. So it's like a little NFL football. We got
right.
the
Funny,
season's
Mike
getting
would
ready
be
to
here.
start. Right.
Right.
So, what has been what a hell of a weekend. So on Friday, Earl Thomas got in a scuffle with
Yeah.
Virginia Tech's own Chuck Clark. If you read it from
hmm
the Virginia metropolitan area, listen to us, know who knows Chuck Clark affectionately from Virginia Tech. They got in an argument, and Earl Thomas was sent home. And I don't know, for some odd reason, Earl Thomas took to Instagram and showed the video of the play where essentially when the argument ensued, and pretty much pleading his case. Okay, well, we'll send him home. Then you hear Saturday, yeah, Earl's still at home. And then Sunday rolls around. Adam Schefter, much to my chagrin, which I retweeted on the Couch Coach Live Instagram page, expect for Earl Thomas to be released at the end of the day. I'm like, what an interesting change of events. And then obviously he did get cut on Sunday. A couple things happened. They say conduct detriment of the team. You heard rumbling saying he was late to team meetings. He didn't show up for certain things. I know he had an argument last season in the Cleveland game, which that rubbed people the wrong way. And then they even came up with certain things saying even the senior leadership council of the Baltimore Ravens, in unison, decided to let Earl Thomas go. So the tea leaves were there from the jump, and they all was unleashed on Earl Thomas on Sunday. All these things happened, all these news clippings happened during the release, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a very interesting situation, and I don't know. It's weird. Like I'm on both sides of the fence. It's kind of, I'm part of me is like the timing of it. I think the really thing with me with the timing of it was bizarre. Like you cut a guy like Earl Thomas 3 weeks before your season start, and you don't have any preseason. You don't, a lot of it's just weird, and then like all these things happening all at once, where now everything comes out. Well, he was late to team meetings. We didn't like him on this team. He was causing a rift for guys. And then even the situation with Chuck Clark, which I thought that was really interesting. Because normally when you in that type of situation, you really don't fight with the same guys that's in your position. Like they're both starting safeties. You rarely get, I mean, like in training camp, there's usually fights amongst like the offense versus the defense. I can see if Earl Thomas had a riff with a wide receiver or a tight end or somebody on the offense,
hmm
but he gets in a fight with his fellow safety mate, and I'm like, this is interesting. Then he goes to Instagram, and it's funny. He shows off intel. It's like, look, I ran this play. I did jump the route. It is my fault. I tried to explain it very calmly, and Chuck just got in my face. And when someone gets in my face, I fight back. Hold me back.
I mean, I was looking up stuff. It was so many people having conversation about this. Bottom line is this: a lot of dudes, when you playing in NFL right now, you any type of star, you have got to. It's very timing times right now. You have
Mm-hmm.
got to be careful in everything
Yo,
that you
yeah.
do. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not playing. You know what I mean? Because one of my favorite shows is, Pat McPhee, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he had Ryan Clark on there.
Yeah.
Ryan Clark was like, y'all remember when I was saying this stuff about Antonio
AB.
Brown? And
Mm-hmm.
everybody looked at me funny because Antonio Brown was a top guy and he had that $1 million smile. He said, so when they was ready to get rid of him,
Mm-hmm.
then everything came out. You
Right.
know what I mean? And Pat McPhee, I like him because he's not negative. He's pro
Mm-hmm.
player like me. I'm pro worker. I'm pro
Mm-hmm.
player. You know what I mean? And when somebody's doing a little bit too much, I'd be like, come on, man. You know what I'm saying? How am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to stick up for you? I'm pro. So then they start talking about, somebody starts speaking on, well, Ryan Clark said, it's just funny when they ready to get rid of him, they put
Oh yeah.
everything out there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? But when somebody, what if he put everything out of what they were doing, then he's going to look some type of way, and then another team may not want him. You know what I'm saying? And but then you're putting all this stuff out, and he said, Ryan Clark said, they're not putting it out for the other teams. They're putting it out to make sense to the fans. And I
Right.
was like, 'cause, fans aren't nice when it comes to comments, and they believe everything that team says, but then they forget that team is that player works for that team. So
Yep.
just like when you're at your job and everybody's pick, people, and I'm like, that ain't true, man. That ain't true. And nobody's really listening to you. And
Mm-hmm.
then you got other workers not sticking up for you because they don't want to be in that predicament either.
Right.
And people forget that. You know what I'm saying? So they said supposedly they're supposed to pay him $10 million next year.
Yeah.
And did you see something like that? And
Oh,
they
that's
really
gonna be
don't
a,
want to pay him that?
and that's where too where the language of them releasing him because contract detrimental to the team, conduct detrimental to the team. The That's how I think Baltimore is going to try to get away with not paying him because essentially the language of that could be something that could be fought in court because this is going to be a battle.
Right.
Him trying to get his $10 million is going to be something I think is going to be very interesting with that,
And
and
then
that's not the part of
he
it
do
too.
some stuff. He
Oh
do
yeah,
some
I mean
stuff
it's Earl
like when he
Thomas.
wanted to go play for the Cowboys, and
I love that though.
like you
I
just said, he
did.
put that out. Yeah, when in Seattle he hurt his leg and he flicked off. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And
And you know what's
and
funny? Like around that
mm-hmm.
time, you think about it. He had issues. Antonio Brown had issues. He
Mm-hmm.
had issues with the Seahawks. Le'Veon Bell was having issues with the Steelers.
Yep.
Those was the main three. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Then they talked about the situation with his lady that put the gun and you know what I'm saying? I was
Oh
like,
yeah, his wife.
oh yeah. It was just a
Yeah.
lot of that information that's out. But
Yep.
then my thing is this, and I'm gonna let you talk because I know you got more information, but my thing is
Mm-hmm.
this. Okay, you release me, then just release me.
Right.
Me and you have a conversation. We're gonna let you go, this, and that. Cool. Don't put no information out because you wouldn't want me to talk about what y'all do. Ain't nobody squeaky clean. You know what I mean? Don't put no information about me and try to make me look bad. You know what I'm saying? You ain't talking about them coaches, I'm sure that's late all the time, or
Right.
be messing around with all the females. You'll never put we know they do. You know what I'm saying? But go ahead
Right.
though. I'm sorry.
Right. Well, you good. But that's why they did that because, and matter of fact, and I'm gonna give you a perfect example. So Deshaun Jackson, remember the first
Mm-hmm.
go around in Philly, they were
Mm-hmm.
publishing reports that he's with this gang affiliation or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
saying that he's a part of this
Mm-hmm.
gang. And we're like, why did all this happen all of a sudden? So
Right.
and that's the thing too. When I'm like, well, they're doing that to kind of to have filters, and then that's why like when he came to us, and I said, hey, Daniel Snyder, don't let him leave the building. Sign him today. Don't let him
Mm-hmm.
go. And that's why I always when somebody come to Redskin Park, don't let them go. Well, it used to be
Mm-hmm.
Redskin Park, Ashburn, Virginia. I'm sorry, but anyway, it cuts deep. But anyway, when those guys come, you like when those guys go to Ashburn, I'm like, you know what? And when
Hmm.
he came to Ashburn, I was like, don't let him leave this building. Let sign him immediately. And that's what
Hmm.
they do for some in Baltimore, like you said. Going back to your point when Pat was talking about that, and essentially they're doing that kind of as for PR reasons. Where like when you remember he brought up saying the senior leadership council voted in
Right.
favor for it, and we're like, who the hell is the
Right.
senior council? Like who does that really consist of?
Right.
I mean, when you sit down and you
Right.
think about it, because I'm like, who?
The Illuminati.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, who essentially is a part of this council? I mean, because it really, you think about it, this is a
Right.
kind of a fairly young team, and I think Earl by far probably one of the oldest guys. Yeah, he was
Talk
like
about
31,
right. Talk about the
32.
whole team. He didn't get along. He didn't get along with the whole team. He
Right,
didn't blah blah blah. And
and
it's
that's the
he.
thing, right? And that's the thing where it's one of the things where it's like they had to justify it because, like you're saying, you're gonna cut a guy 3 weeks before your season start. You're a title contended
Right.
team, even though even though Earl Earl had a good season. And that's another thing too. And that they were going back and forth as far as was he a good fit with them. But I like he still was good enough to get a Pro Bowl, even though people say he got that based on the merit of what he's done in the past. But he
Hmm.
he still was good enough on this team. I think that could have made an impact for this team, and he could have been one of the main reasons of their success. Even though he was by far the
Hmm.
lead blocker for Derrick Henry in that playoff game, but
Hmm.
but in that token, I get it. Where it's just like, and the thing is with that, and like, and Dallas
I
plays a
don't
part.
think.
I don't think so either. I know who
I don't think so.
I as a team. There is a team that if I am if it's a team I think he should go to, and I who you think he'll go to?
Who me?
Yeah,
Who me?
yeah.
I
Who you
think they
think?
trying to get him out the league, bro. I think they trying to get him out the league, B. I think they don't want those type of guys no more. I'm just
Yeah.
being honest with you. I think the league.
Uh,
I mean, about
pardon
some of
me.
this. Go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry. Like I
Yeah.
think I would say Dallas, but then once
Mm-hmm.
I started really listening to the stuff that people saying, I'm like they was like they might do like a 1 year like a Cam Jones. They was like he'd do 1 year with a bunch of
Yeah.
incentives and stuff like that. I'm like they trying to get him out the league, B.
But
You know
this
what
is
I'm saying? Like what's going
I would
on?
yeah, and I see Steven's point where say Dallas is going to try to get the man. I wouldn't mind seeing him twice a year so we can rough him up. I this is who I want. If I am Andrew Berry and the Cleveland Browns, I will make a call to Earl Thomas tonight. Get him in the building. Get him in Berea, Ohio tomorrow. Do not let him leave this
Ain't
building.
Pac-Man
Let's
playing for the
sign
Browns?
him. No, Pac-Man is not there. Pac-Man gone. I don't think
I don't know why
Pac-Man.
I heard some saying that Pac-Man was playing for the Browns.
But if I am Andrew Berry, if I am Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator of the Cleveland Browns, I am calling Andrew Berry tonight. Get Earl Thomas to Berea, Ohio within the next 24 to 48 hours. Do not let him leave this building. I would sign him in a
Yeah.
new and I would sign him in a Cleveland minute. You lose Grant Delpit, and it's such a freakish accident that happened yesterday, tearing his Achilles. You bring Earl in. You got
Thank
the
you, Steven.
intel. No, it ain't even about that. It's about more so of him going in and sticking it to the Ravens. Like, cause I know I'm
Right.
gonna get effort from him. This team went 14-2 last year. This is my competition. Bump the Steelers, bump the Bengals. I have to crack the Da Vinci code that is the Baltimore Ravens. You have the chess pieces. You have the intel to get what I need. I need I need the key. I need the key to the recipe of this Baltimore Ravens
I'm
team.
with you.
You're gonna give
I,
me intel.
I mean, if he do, that's what's up. Man, it was crazy.
Yeah,
Like I was saying, it was like he just he doesn't play well with the Ravens. He did well with Seattle. He plays more
yeah,
middle, and he can get up.
yeah,
And I'm just sitting here like it's. I don't think people really. I us being up talking. About, I don't like that shit. You know that, right? I just
yeah.
don't like when you like. Oh, okay. So you sign him. He get you. He was a part of that team last year. Y'all had success. Now all of a sudden,
Right.
you know what I mean?
And Earl should have. I think honestly, I didn't even say this last year. I think Earl should have signed with Cleveland last year. And so to me, this is a perfect opportunity. It's a perfect storm. I just mentioned earlier about Grant Delpit, who got hurt yesterday. Perfect. Because honestly, at this point, you're a contending team.
So are mine,
You are
Steven.
you are a contending team. You bring in a guy like Earl Thomas. He ain't got to be a Boy Scout. Trust me. Well, KC, yeah, KC, right, and going kind of going to your point, and this gonna sound crazy, but y'all just sit back for like 25, 30 seconds. Let me explain it. Just like how we like Tyrann Mathieu, he went to Kansas City. We're like, okay, that's a fair acquisition. I think Earl can have that type of impact. I really think so. I'm not saying that. Oh my God, like Cleveland's gonna win the Super Bowl, but he can have that type of impact for this Browns team. They got the talent. Because remember, they beat Baltimore. Out of 2 losses, Cleveland gave probably a worst loss in the regular season. That beat them by almost like 20 some points. I think it was like 15 points or what have you. So the talent is there. They can beat that team. And now you got a brand new head coach, Kevin Stefanski. At the end of the day, Earl ain't got to be a Boy Scout. He ain't got to give donuts to the unit. Show up. Just show up and do what you got to do. You on a 1 year loaner because Grant will come back and Grant will be healthy. Grant is 22, brute, strong, healthy guy. He'll be back next year. He'll be back better than ever like next year, as if nothing happened to him. Get him on a 1 year loaner because at the end of the day,
That's what they saying.
I
They
would get
said a
him.
1 year.
I would get him for a 1 year and let Earl do his thing.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, yeah, definitely appreciate Steve for checking us out tonight. And I'm telling you, I would sit there, like I said, if I'm Andrew Barry, matter of
I hear
fact,
you, B.
if I'm Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator, I'm calling Andrew Barry tonight and saying, hey, bring Earl in
You know
and
it.
don't let him
Okay.
leave the building.
Just like they gon' wait, B. I wouldn't. He probably ain't go play the midseason or some crazy mess. They gonna
He
wait
need,
before anybody get him. You know what I mean?
but
But I just think they're trying to
yeah,
get rid of players like him.
and
I'm
they
just
got a
being
good
honest with you,
secondary. Yeah, and they got a
because
good
I'm like, man,
secondary
it's so.
already. They got a good young secondary. So I'm like, Earl, I got a one-way ticket to Berea, Ohio. I'm gonna pick you up in Cleveland at Hopkins Airport. I'm gonna give you a one-way ticket because you ain't going back
Yeah,
nowhere.
yeah.
Pack your bag, bring your wife, bring your brother, bring whoever you need. Bring the boat that you and your brother was on or wherever y'all was at. You coming to Cleveland.
That's so wrong. That's
I'm
so
just
wrong.
saying. Whoever you need to bring with you to Cleveland, they come in with you. Cause we gotta make some noise this year. We have to make some noise this year. We can't let
Are you a Brown now?
no hell no. I'm just the excitement of it. Like if I am in my Chuck Berry voice.
I
Not Chuck
got you.
Berry, not Chuck Berry, but Andrew
I
Berry
got you.
voice. I'm in my Andrew Berry voice. And my, Ron Woods, Kevin Stefanski. I'm in that mind frame at this point. Not we. No, trust me. My heart still bleed FT. Anyway, so let's put a bow in this week's show. So
Okay.
so
Okay.
let's give out game balls. Who gets this week's game ball?
Man, honestly, I told you quick. I'm gonna give it to Luca,
Mm-hmm.
for what he did. I'm gonna give it to LeBron for what he did. But I'm gonna give it to J.R. Smith for making that
Oh,
one 3-pointer in the fourth quarter, and he tied Kobe Bryant for
that's amazing.
you know, for threes in the playoffs.
Yeah,
So,
man.
and then LeBron too, moving past Klay
Yeah,
Thompson. You heard it was some drama there. Klay had something to say about that. But
yeah.
that just lets you know how dangerous them damn Warriors are, man. Goodness gracious. You know what I'm saying? The shoot they ain't been good that many years. Goodness gracious. But
Right, right.
yeah, that's why I'm giving the game ball to.
Yeah. So my game ball
This
gotta go to, and we talked about it last week. I know JB, y'all were killing me about my biases, but when I tell y'all when these 4-star athletes come out of 15 South Oak Street, we gotta talk about them. So I definitely gotta give a huge game ball to our guy Kelvin Gilliam, the defensive tackle class of 2021 of D Highland Springs High School, the 79th ranked player in the country according to Rivals.com, is going to Oklahoma. He's going to join his fellow class of 2021 Highland Spring teammate, the number one defensive back in the state of Virginia, and Damon Harmon. They're both going to Norman, Oklahoma coming up. So definitely huge shout out to those young guys down at 15 South Oak Street. Just once again, man, and this is gonna be a trend. This ain't gonna be the final game ball of these guys. It's gonna be a lot of class of 2021, 2022, 23. The telling you, man, it's gonna be crazy. Coming out 15 South Oak Street.
Congratulations.
Yes, indeed. Final thoughts. Final thoughts.
Oh man, you know, man, just it's getting hard out here, man. You can't even like try to, help people when they're going through some situation like a domestic dispute or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Just everybody, man, less is more, and just be smart and have faith and
Yep.
just be careful. You
Like
know
we
what I
said,
mean?
our prevailing theme was always stay out the way.
Yeah, stay out the way. It sucks,
Stay
but
out the way.
everybody wants to, but
But
yeah,
I'm telling you, we living in 2020. This is the year of self preservation, my brother. Sad as to say, sad
man,
as that sounds, but at the end of the day, especially with you, man, you got kids, dog. Like you gotta preserve
yeah, like
yourself. Like and
right,
I might say
you
it in
know,
a jokingly tone, but I'm being dead serious. Where, hey man, like you gotta do what you gotta do to preserve yourself. At the end of the day, man, you got kids, dog. Like you gotta be there
right,
for them.
man, like crazy.
Yeah, man.
It's
Yeah,
crazy, B. So yeah, just
yeah,
love everybody. You know what I'm saying?
absolutely.
Keep up your success, Steven and Jeff and Mike and everybody that
Yep. Check this out. Yeah,
doing their thing and different podcasts you be on. You know what I mean?
yeah, man. Yeah, man, this has been a great show. Yeah, definitely huge shout out to
Yeah.
I did a few things this week. We did a draft lottery preview. That was very interesting. Doing some work on the Off the Ball Network. So I've been doing some NBA shows on there. Definitely going to continue with the college football previews. I think we're doing one. We're doing the Big 12 on Saturday. With our guy Zach from the Blue Bloods podcast. So we'll be doing that this week, and then the following Saturday, September the 5th, is the ACC. So we'll round up our Power 5 -2, because of course the Big 10 and the Pac-12 aren't playing this year. And then definitely huge shout out to yesterday, Jones Angel came by, the play-by-play announcer of my beloved Carolina Tar Heels, the number 17 ranked with 18th ranked in certain polls. came on to the podcast yesterday, talked, and great, great words of wisdom. And I think it's just one of the things where even hearing this story, you know, pretty much essentially being in his dream job, and it's just a phenomenal story of how people think that, hey, I could get this by doing this certain thing. No, man, everything takes work. It took work, like and
Right.
if you listen back to the podcast, you'll he's been in the game for been doing it since he was at University of North Carolina as an undergrad, and was putting in work
Hmm.
to where he is now. And it's one of the things where when people are doing something, don't get discouraged, because at the end of the day, you'll get to where you need to be. You just gotta work hard
Hmm.
and just gotta get there when you
Right.
can. But yeah, man. So yeah, man, this has been this week's Couch Coach Live, man. We'll catch you guys next week.
All right, people. You're welcome.
Yes, sir.